What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming back and checking out another Mass Effect Andromeda breakdown video. Now, as the past few weeks have no doubt told you, Thursday and Fridays are the best time to expect something new from BioWare. And of course, this week was no different. Today, March 3rd, we had two awesome videos drop. One was from BioWare itself, and it deals about exploration and how to build up the worlds around you. The other was from IGN, and it was a 12-minute video showing off the opening minutes of Andromeda. And even though some of the animations, were a little jittery, we're getting in-game animations with the quality of cutscenes. And this has always been the goal of developers, to make games as detailed as the CG cutscenes. And the technology is pretty freaking close to realizing this goal. Now, while some of the animations might seem a bit off, look at everything else we are gaining, guys. Now, I'm willing to bet the day one patch will fix a lot of these small mistakes, but the scenery is absolutely outstanding. And if that's all we have to deal with, then I am completely okay with that. Alright, well first we're going to dive into the new Combat Series video titled Exploration, Discovery, and Crafting in Andromeda. It's full of info and tons of new things to look over. I'll have my 12-minute of IGN gameplay video uploaded sometime over the weekend, so definitely look forward to that. Alright, so let's get this bad boy underway. Now the opening scene shows Ryder tumbling towards a planet. It looks like maybe even a broken escape capsule. Not really sure, but the best thing about this part is that we see our first view of a cityscape. In Mass Effect 2 and 3, some of my favorite views were of Ilium, the Citadel, especially the wards, and over the railing of Omega, seeing the thousands of buildings and the cars dot the landscape as far as the eye could see. I was hoping that Andromeda would not be so different that the mega cities would have been left out of the picture, and I'm absolutely glad to see them return. The angled buildings and the shaped surroundings definitely look like remnant structures that we've seen in the past. Now, so far, we only know remnant as machines. But could it be that the machines we've been seeing all over the place in Andromeda are just leftover remains or remnant from a story that has played out over the past few 100 million years in the Milky Way galaxy? Synthetic life is created, takes over organic life, and then continues to thrive by itself, like the Geth or the countless others created throughout history. Maybe remnant were organic civilizations that built these cities, and then machines simply took over. Again, this is just my speculation, but why would machines build cities? They don't need office space and apartments. Something to think about. Next, we see a problem area on what looks like to be Habitat 7. We see another one of those angled structures doing something to the atmosphere, kind of like the Shroud in ME3. But some of these structures have an enticing purpose, something we'll get to here in a little bit. Next, we see something I've been looking forward to for quite some time, a full look at the galaxy map. And how about these views from the Tempest, guys? I mean, seeing photons getting pulled into a black hole and swirling around to a background of space, it's quite the view. But as we move forward, the scale starts to set in. Now, one of the things I was worried about is that we no longer have access to the galaxy, but instead we're isolated to just one area within Andromeda. And while that is still an immense amount of area, I wasn't sure how they were going to show it on the galaxy map. Well, it looks like it really hasn't changed that much at all, and if nothing else, it's actually gotten bigger. Although, since we're down a step now from a galaxy, each one of those circles consists of just one system of planets and one star. So it's not like if we fly into each of those circles, we can further find other systems and it starts and ends there, which is different from the way the map has worked in the past. But look at all these systems to explore. Now, as the narrator tells us, even though we can explore these areas in our ship, only quote-unquote a handful of planets are actually explorable. Now, how many a handful amounts to can be interpreted in many different ways. The actual number we don't know as of yet, and I'm okay with not knowing. But this might not even be all of them. There are a ton of possibilities here. Alright, and next we get to see a close-up of what we can expect to see once we zoom in. If you look at the bottom of the galaxy map, you'll notice the zoom in button. This appears to be how we scan planets and moons. Once we actually do zoom in, the left trigger activates the scan, and this is a night and day difference from the old ways we used to scan planets. Seeing the rotation, all the small moons and the nebula gas and dust in the backdrop, it really makes this map come alive. Also, we get to see some of the curiosities we could be seeing in each system. Here's a wreck of a Ket scout ship, and next we get to see a funny comet that we can pull resources from. But notice the name here, guys. For the Dragon Age Inquisition fans out there, you might remember the Jar of Bees, which was literally an upgrade you could buy that contained, well, a jar of bees that you threw at people. A nice homage to squeeze into a trailer. But also, one of the many names that have connections to other BioWare games. something I think that's pretty funny. Also, one of the many promises Andromeda announced was the ability to see your location in space in real time. If you travel there, you can leave the galaxy map, walk around your ship, and out of the windows, you'll be able to see the exact same planet or object that you've seen in the map. And if you look at this comet right here, notice that how when Ryder walks around his cabin, you can see the exact same comet right outside the window. Quite spectacular, man. And as we progress, you can see another instance where a planet is basically right outside. I bet we're going to be seeing some amazing screenshots coming up here in a few weeks. Alright, and moving along here, as we land on planet Eladin, which by the way we now know the correct pronunciation of, the narrator says that there are over 100 different planets to see, which just adds to the vastness of just how big this game really is. So as we land and progress on foot, we get to see some of the many settlements. This one is called Paradise, which by the way I'm sure is meant to be a joke as the heat is so stifling here, it can reach over 99 degrees Celsius, which is terrible for just about everyone but the Turians and the Krogan. As we explore, we find out that the Krogan are quick to settle this area but aren't happy with the results. And just like everyone in the Milky Way galaxy, they don't trust the initiative, let alone Pathfinders. That sets up the basis for this planet and how to grow it as well, as you'll see here in a few. Next, we get another look at just how useful Sam really is. Before setting out from your initial landing area, Sam provides a quick glimpse at the landscape and points out a few major areas of interest. As you see here, it highlights an outlaw settlement called the Flophouse, a monolith in Remnant style, a Remnant derelict starship, and a Krogan colony, which is our first destination. Of course, since this area is so large, the Nomad gets deployed. Alright, so next up, we get a good look at a few of the Nomad upgrades. As we know, it's not an assault vehicle like the Mako was. This one is purely meant for exploration, but it does have defensive capabilities. So the first upgrade we look at is the Advanced Detection System, a silver uncommon upgrade. Notice that just like weapons, these are blueprints, and blueprints require research data to construct. And from previous videos, we know research data is obtained by scanning the surrounding environments and learning about the new things around you. But on top of that, we get a look at some of the materials we'll need to be collecting. This is also a first. For the first upgrade, it requires silicon, nickel, and ezo. This will allow us to see enemies through obstacles at a range of 75 meters. Next is Advanced Life Support, and it's a gold upgrade, which is rare. This upgrade installs power cells that can briefly generate mass effect fields around the Nomad to shield occupants as they are exiting the vehicle. And here we see a few new elements to add to the list: graphite, lithium, and platinum. Next, Agility Mode, a silver blueprint. This allows the Nomad's Stability Assist, which is always on by default, to be disabled, giving an expert driver greater control over the vehicle. With Stability Assist disabled, the Nomad is more agile, but will have less traction, and I'm assuming this comes with greater risk of wrecking it. The D-pad switches it on and off, and for this blueprint, we need more elements: beryllium, cadmium, and element 0. I can already tell that scanning and mining is going to be huge within this game. Let's just hope it's not too bad. Alright, next up, Defensive Fortifications, a gold blueprint. Improves the Nomad's shields and frame by 25%. Again, for this we need beryllium, cadmium, and ezo as well. Next, Emergency Shield Discharge, another gold blueprint, which I've talked about before in one of my latest news videos. This is the only somewhat offensive capability, and even then, it's not something you can trigger at will. This upgrades the Nomad's shields to discharge when they are entirely depleted. Doing so creates a shockwave all around the vehicle that stuns enemies and sends them flying into the air. The same elements are needed here as the last two: beryllium, cadmium, and element 0. The final blueprint we get to see here is Improved Boost, which is pretty self-explanatory. A silver upgrade and requires graphite, nickel, and platinum. Now, judging by the scroll bar on the left, there are quite a few blueprints available, so I'm pretty sure you'll be able to make this thing do just about everything you want, except make precision jumps. Well, unless, you find a Quarian, but... And next, we're given a little more insight to these deployable pods that we've seen in other trailers. These are actually called forward stations, and it turns out that they can only be called in certain areas and not whenever you need it. But they do more than just give us the ability to change weapons and armor. They act as fast travel points throughout the world that you're exploring. More so than that, they have a mass effect field around them that shields you from environmental hazards, as you'll see here in this clip. But also, they are a critical part to exploring with the Nomad. Once you wreck or destroy your Nomad, these forward stations can send down another one, allowing you to continue. Or if you come across a certain enemy you're not equipped to handle, you can switch out your gear as needed. The fact that these act as fast travel beacons as well can come in handy, especially if you lose your Nomad while you're out exploring or it's simply too far to walk back and retrieve. Now, on top of all the cool things these forward stations can do, they also recharge your Nomad as well. Your suit as well as the Nomad have their own environmental systems within them, which slowly wear down. Pulling into these stations will recharge the Nomad, allowing you to continue on your quest. So basically, these things are little miracles. Also, take a look at this sand screw in the back right. Now, I thought it might have been like, a cousin of the Thresher Maul, but they look to be like some kind of gigantic worm in the shape of a screw. How awesome is that, right? Alright, so next up we get some clarification on how all of this exploration actually adds up, and not only what it means to the story, but how it all comes together. A few months ago, when we were breaking down the Andromeda briefings, I guessed that the more you explore and the more those Nexus points you earn, the more you can continue to build and ultimately finish the Nexus. Well, looks like I nailed that one, but on top of that, each planet has its own uniquely crafted story and political situation. The more you explore and help to quell the problems of that area, the more viable that planet becomes. You can see the planet's viability rating at the top left in the galaxy map. Now, raising a planet's viability will allow you to do two things. Number one is to be able to build an outpost on that planet, and number two is that it allows you to continue upgrading and finish building the Nexus. Because remember, the Nexus isn't scheduled to be 100% complete until after you arrive in Andromeda. It arrives in Andromeda a little over 50% complete. And raising viability on planets is how you achieve this. You can build an outpost once that certain planet's viability is raised to 40%. And like I mentioned earlier, your relationship with the Krogan will ultimately determine if they let you build on Eladin or not. Now, regardless on what you actually decide to do, exploring and completing side quests or planet-specific missions will earn you a thing called AVP, which is that level we see in every trailer on the top right. We finally have answers as to what this does. It stands for Andromeda Viability Points. The more you do, the more points you earn. And when you reach a specific amount of points, you can then wake up more colonists, physically complete the construction of the Nexus, and more so than that, you can choose specialists to help you on your journey. Here we get a first ever look at gameplay on the Nexus. Ryder is about to browse almost like a weird catalog of specialists. It's kind of like a weird sapient organic mail order. You choose who you want and it'll spit out what kind of person you need. Actually, once you think about it, it's kind of an odd system. And why not wake up everyone and have them all explore? Either way, we've seen one of these specialists before. BioWare released an interview of an actor named Kumail, who's the voice actor of Jarun Tan, a Solarian scientist and politician, who we also see here in our catalog of frozen homies. Now, within the merchant department, we see a list of frozen homies, that was funny. Anyway, within the merchant department, we see a list of upgrades available and also cryopod points, which I'm not sure what they quite do yet. But this first upgrade shows that the starting point is where you lay infrastructure to support a financial system. And then as you upgrade, the others assumingly unlock in succession. Also, take notice that at the very bottom, there's an upgrade called Fusion Mod Support. We'll get to that here in a few. But next comes my favorite part of this vid, and it deals with structures called vaults. Now, they are secretive buildings that are dotted across the different planets within Andromeda. Now, as a fan of Destiny, they almost sound like a small raid, or perhaps more akin to a dungeon in other MMOs. They have secret entrances, are full of jumping puzzles, hidden chambers, assumingly full of lore, and according to the narrator, they hold the key to survival in Andromeda. Now, they seem to be filled with traps, puzzles, loot, and much, much more, and this intrigues me the most. Exploration is awesome, but a vast network of ancient secrets hidden behind layers of mystery? Pfft, yes, please. And at the end, we also see a new face, a female Angaran. Female Angaran? Anyway, we've seen one before in our first look at Jaw like a month or so ago, but this time, we seem to be alone with her. Yet another character to try and learn about. And as the video ends, we see brief instances with other notable areas and vaults as well. Now, we've actually seen some of these vaults in our first look at PB also, but only now is it clear that that actually took place inside one of these vaults. This trailer, guys, blew my expectations out of the water. I knew this game was going to be big, and I knew it was going to be beautiful. But if you combine this With the 12 minutes of gameplay from IGN, not the failed combat one, but the one linked down below, we are in for a real treat, guys. The Andromeda universe, at least to me, just became exponentially bigger than I had thought it was going to be. And I am completely 100% okay with that. But that's about it, guys. I watched over this quite a few times, and I didn't really see much out of the way of ordinary or any hidden objects that we haven't already seen or of something that I haven't pointed out before. BioWare has kept their promise to reveal a lot in a short amount of time, and they are definitely delivering. As always, thank you guys so much for watching and for the support of my channel here. It's always awesome to be able to make these videos set in the universe that turned me into a gamer in the first place. We're less than 3 weeks away from the launch and 2 weeks away from early access. I'll be breaking down the 12 minutes of gameplay video IGN dropped today, and I'll have that up sometime tomorrow, which is Saturday, March 4th. Something else I highly recommend you take a look at. But be careful, it is the entire introduction, so it is definitely considered a spoiler. Once again, feel free to follow me on Twitter at SlyNation or on Facebook at SlyNation Gaming. It's the best place to stay up to date on everything Mass Effect Andromeda and recent uploads from my channel. Couldn't do this without you all, so thank every single one of you out there for watching and for the support. Keep an eye out for more videos coming out of SlyNation here very soon, but until then, this is your boy Sly, and I'll catch you all next time.